What's going on YouTube? Tom here, and we're back with another video today. This is going to be the second video in a row on this Sharp by Design Evo Typhoon. Today we're going to be disassembling it. I want to see what's inside this thing and show you guys just what makes it tick, because Brian has some different features than other knives, mainly his detent, and I wanted to show you guys that because it's super cool. And also just because how unique this design is, just how clean everything is. If you look on the show side, there's absolutely no screws whatsoever, and the only screws that are actually visible on the back side, the lock bar insert screw, your pivot screw, and then your clip screw. The clip screw, I believe, runs all the way through and touches the other side. Should be a super easy one to disassemble and put back together. So let's get right into it. This is all T8, which is awesome. I love when knives do that and don't make you switch out drivers. So we're going to start with the pocket clip screw here in the back. I felt like there might have been a little bit of Loctite on that one. Actually, no, it's just one super long screw, which is kind of what I figured that it was. Is the pocket clip milled into it? That pocket clip might actually be milled into the scale. We're going to find out. That pivot screw is pretty darn tight in there. That feels like it might have a little bit of Loctite on it. I know Reate has been putting Loctite on their screws for a long time. I know Nick Shabazz said that there wasn't any on his, but there is on my pivot screw, just a little bit, not too much. So we're gonna try and pop this guy apart now. Take all the stress off of the lock bar. Try and wiggle this bad boy apart. Maybe. There it goes. So there is the lock side. There's the blade. And your bearings. So here is the inside of this Sharp by Design Evo Typhoon. Get everything up in frame here. So what it looks like, wow, the machining in this is fantastic. It's all solid on the inside. There's no milled pockets to reduce weight or anything like that. But you do have these bearing races that are recessed into the scales, and they're also, get the bearings out of the blade here, they're also recessed into the blade, so that gets you, or it enables you to be able to get a nice slim profile, which is awesome. He's using ceramic ball bearings, and it feels like they have some sort of a grease on there, which kind of probably hindered the action just a little bit. But we're going to put some lighter weight oil on there. What I really like to see here is that he does have steel washers on either side to prevent wear and tear from the bearings rubbing into just the plain titanium. That's awesome. Looking on this side here real quick, we're going to take this little stop pin out. The stop pin, I like this little milling that they have going on here all around this piece, and then you have the stop pin that's enclosed inside of that. That's a cool little touch. I think this clip might be milled into the scale. I can't take it out. If it's not milled into the scale, it's just very, very tightly fit in there. You guys might be able to see there's really no seam there. So if that's milled into the scale, that's just unreal. Anyhow, this is what I was talking about, his integral detent. So this is his lock bar insert, the steel lock bar insert. You guys can see that's not a normal detent ball right there. That's not a normal detent ball. That is actually his signature detent nub. That's how you get that nice clean one step up onto the blade. There's no like catch on the detent ball. And you guys can see right here the big milled pocket in the blade where that detent nub has to come up and over onto. So that's what enables his knives to have that really unique action. Pop this pivot screw out. Try and get these steel washers out of here too. those are going to be in there pretty darn good. There we go. There's one of them. Those are really, really, really thick too. I don't know if you guys are able to see that, but that is a super thick steel washer. I just love to see that because this is a knife that I know that a lot of people are just going to collect and keep in their collection. But the way that it's built, it should be a great user. Honestly, you shouldn't really see much wear and tear on this as far as the bearings and everything over time. Obviously, because it's a bearing knife, you're probably going to have to take it apart a little bit more often and maintain it. But I'm not too concerned with that just because of how easy this thing is to take apart. There's just those two screws, the pivot screw and that giant screw that runs all the way through the backspacer. So what I'm going to do now is I'm tearing up a paper towel here to put some alcohol on it, and we are going to wipe down everything that has the original factory heavier grease on it. Because honestly, on a bearing knife, the grease works well, but lighter weight oil works a little bit better. I'm using 91% alcohol. That seems to work the best. I had some like 70-something% alcohol, and it worked, but it just didn't work quite as good. Clean off the detent nub, clean off that little track inside of there. Just get rid of any of this factory grease. Clean out the blade, because that obviously has, you guys can see right there some of the factory grease, that yellowish stuff. I'm not sure what they're using. It's nice stuff and it sticks well. And I'm sure it works great for, you know, extended use without maintenance. But personally, I like something a little bit lighter in a bearing knife. Now, I've carried this knife now for about 3 days and I'm absolutely loving it. It carries very, very easily. Doesn't carry like a big knife. This is a 3 3/4 inch blade, but it really doesn't feel like it or even look like it. Just because of how slim and compact it is in the closed position. It has about 3.5 inches of cutting edge, and I haven't had a chance to cut anything with it actually. It's been a lackluster couple of days when I've carried it. Clean out the bearings there. I might go back to those and clean them out again. Just making sure that all of that grease is out of there. I'm actually kind of happy that I went with the ceramic detent balls. Those seem to provide a little bit of a smoother action. You don't get quite as much of a gritty feel like you can with the stainless steel ones. My Anthem has the stainless steel ones, and it has a little bit of a grittier action than this. Make sure all these bearings are nice and cleaned off. These knives are just super, super clean. I really, really like it. Reate pays fantastic attention to detail. Very simple and elegant. They did a really good job on this one. So now we can start reassembly. Where are we going to start here? The show side had this piece sitting in there. I'm actually going to clean this off too. And these tolerances are super tight on these. Every little like screw and stop pin and everything fits very tightly into where it goes. There's really no play in it. Grab my oil here. I don't have any specific knife oil. I'd like to pick up some of that KPL, but I've been using this for a long period of time. This Lucas fishing reel oil. It's a really nice lightweight oil. You don't need a whole lot, just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. It's like probably a 10 weight oil or so. Drop that back down in there. Put a tiny bit here. I'm trying to remember which side of these bearings was facing outwards. I believe it was like this. Drop that in. Actually, I probably shouldn't do that. I probably should just drop those into the pockets on the blade. Trying to be super careful here. I didn't tape off the blade, but I really should have. This had a really, really nice factory edge on it. right, we got our blade into position. You guys can see there how that stop pin works, and then your detent would work right next to that stop pin. Just a really nice, clean design. All right, we're gonna drop the other stainless steel interface on top of this, actually. Put a drop of oil or so on the top side of these bearings as well. Just a little tiny bit, because I know the oil that we put down at the bottom is going to wear through and come up to the top. I'm going to put a tiny bit of oil here on the detent path as well. Doesn't need a whole lot, just enough for it to operate smoothly. I'll put a tiny bit down in the little recessed pocket here. All right. We're going to drop this stainless steel interface on top, because that scale is going to go right up on top of that. Pop the lock side back on, and we can begin to screw this back together. So we're going to start with the back screw here that runs through the pocket clip, just because trying to keep all the pressure off the pivot until we get everything else into position. Something's not working right in there. We're going to take this apart. Now, the only thing I really don't like about the assembly of this knife is that those screws look like they're going straight into titanium. Possibly, which makes me a little bit nervous, just because of the fact that you can strip those out if you're not careful. So just make sure everything fits back together correctly, and you're not forcing a screw to go in. Where'd our little stop pin go? Duh, it's hiding in the other side of the scale. And I forgot to mention in the unboxing and first impressions video that these will be available at Blade HQ, just a small number of them. So if you guys wanted to check these out, that would be your opportunity to. The screw is very tight here in the back. Now we just have to run our pivot screw in, and that's literally it to this knife. We're going to put a tiny bit of blue Loctite on there, but first we are going to attempt to clean the existing blue Loctite, or whatever Loctite they're using, off. So here's a nice little trick to try and get this kind of stuff off. You use a little bit of alcohol, you put it on your driver, like this, and just pretend like you're screwing that screw into something. It should rip most of that off. Almost all of it, actually. And that screw's clean. So now, got my blue Loctite up here. I need to get the nice stick version of it because the liquid stuff gets everywhere. You don't need a whole lot, just enough to cover one or two of the threads towards the bottom. seems to be operating perfectly fine. Centered perfectly. Actually, this is centered a little bit better than the factory now. It was centered well from the factory, but it leaned just a touch to the right. Trying to work some of this oil in. Perfect. That's all there is to disassembling your Sharp by Design and Reate collab Evo Typhoon. So I hope that was interesting for you guys and beneficial for any of you guys that own this knife. It's cool that Brian has that really awesome detent system, and it's just kind of neat to take a look at it. That's a great piece of innovation. So anyhow, guys, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like down below and subscribe if you want to continue to see videos just like this one. Thanks for watching, guys.